It's time for a cup of coffee with Will and Chris at Slumberland Furniture. From Slumberland Furniture in Osage Beach, here are your hosts, William Holtz and Chris Schneider.
Welcome to this week's Cup of Coffee from Slumberland at the Lake. I am Wild Will.
I'm Uncle Chris.
And the election has come and went, and of course we record on Tuesday, so I hope you got out and vote. Although we don't have results for you, they are final. You can go back and watch our election results and coverage. But on this week's Cup of Coffee, we're going to talk about Osage Beach approving a staff bathroom at the city park for $157,000.
Looks a bit excessive, doesn't it?
And coming with a lot of pushback from the locals, as well as a sex trafficking sting arrest in Osage Beach. We'll tell you about that. Plus, Missouri farmland owned by foreign entities in particular. China, we'll talk about that, and how realistic of a concern is that, or is that being blown out of proportion this latest election style? That in your LOZ app, LOZ Rumor Mill, and a whole lot more. And we return to this week's Cup of Coffee.
Hey everybody, Daryl Cunningham with Slumberland Furniture at the Lake. We're into the last week of our 57th anniversary sale. You need to come check out the great deals. You need a new living room set? It's up to 57% off. You need a new dining room set? That's up to 57% off. How about bedrooms? Up to 57% off as well. Not only are you going to get the great deals, we have interest-free financing, and don't forget, we deliver the entire lake area. Come see us at Slumberland Furniture, where we're bringing happy home.
All right, so make sure you stop in for their anniversary sale. And when you do, tell them that Uncle Chris and Wild Will sent you. All right, so Chris, we voted. Tuesday came and went. Of course, we don't have our results. One of the weirdest shows every week is Voting Tuesdays. We record the show on Tuesdays.
Yep.
And so by the time you watch starting on Wednesday, the results are in, but we had no idea. So for those of you watching, if you know the results, you obviously paid attention, and maybe you happened to catch our live election results and coverage Tuesday night that we did, and you can go back and watch that. We figure it's going to be a great night of results leading into that. Of course, hopefully you get a chance to watch that. But this was such an important election, not just really for the Lake area, but the state of Missouri. When you look at the governor race, I mean, that for the Republican ticket, that was a three-way race going in, and really for us, unsure of who was going to take that race along with a lot of others.
Yeah, this is, in my opinion, a year that is pivotal in America, right? Especially the presidential election coming up in November. But depending on what happens this election cycle this year is the future of our country. I think if it goes a certain way, our country is done. We're over. I mean, I think it's that serious. And if it goes another way, we've got a chance. But I think it's that dire. I really think we're in that bad of straits in our country that we could lose our country depending on how this election cycle goes.
Yeah, no doubt. And you look at the things on the ballot from governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, state treasurer, and attorney general, all potentially new positions. You know, lieutenant governor will be, you know, the governor will be, and then of course state rep, circuit judge. But when you look at the county, the two big issues or positions for Camden County, you looked at District 2 for Camden County Commissioner.
Yep.
5 names in that cap, and that's going to be a new person filling the seat of former commissioner, or previous, or I say current commissioner, Don Williams. And then when you look at state rep, that's a pretty heated race between the incumbent Lisa Thomas and Jeff Vernetti, the challenger. And then, of course, the big one here locally is for Sheriff Tony Helms, his time coming to a close. And so who's going to be our new sheriff? That all figured out Tuesday night as those results were made final. But you hit the nail on the head. Such an important election. And what I was interested to see was what kind of voter turnout. And so we'll have that next week. Of course, most of you already know that. And into our next local headline, which is a big one and got a lot of traction from the story I shared to my Facebook page. First reported by KRMS, but after more than 18 months of discussion and gaining proposals and bids, the City of Osage Beach Board of Aldermen approved a $157,000 bid for a staff bathroom at the staff at the Osage Beach City Park. I shared that to my Facebook page and said, whoa, $100,000 for a staff bathroom. What do you think? And boy, we got a lot of feedback, including from Osage Beach PR marketing director, whatever his title is, Matt Markovy, going under the name of Matthew Charles on Facebook, but really not a lot of answers from the city. And so I went back and I watched the entire board meeting from Thursday. And this is kind of wild. What were your initial thoughts to seeing that price tag for not a bathroom, because they have bathrooms. I want to make that perfectly clear.
They already have bathrooms.
Large men and women's bathrooms separate right there at the city ball fields between the baseball fields. It's worth noting that the parks is larger than just the ball fields there. And so when you're working at the field for the Parks and Recreation Department or maintenance, you might be a good mile away from the facilities, and that might cause you, should Mother Nature come knocking, to have to go rushing. But the Board of Aldermen for the city of Osage Beach said, no, you don't have to go rushing. We're going to get you your own facilities. But it's not mobile, so I still don't think this solves the problem of getting to it quicker. I'm just interested what your take was when you saw this.
Okay, if you want to add a bathroom, that's fine, but $157,000 to build this seems to be quite excessive. Seems to be pretty typical politics these days. I don't know why you got to spend $157,000 for a new bathroom, especially if it's just a staff bathroom and not a public bathroom. I don't know. There's some red flags flying up all over the place there. Something needs to be looked at there, because it just doesn't pass the smell test. Something stinks there.
Yeah, well, it is going to include a new grinding station and running the water and sewer to the additional facility to the current staff bathroom. Bob Osteen, Alderman Bob Osteen, said, he looked at this from many different angles, and it was no longer an option, not going to get cheaper. And he said, we can't keep doing this to our staff. I found it to be a little melodramatic. He was going on and on about, this is a slap in their face, especially for our female employees. They need a facility with a shower, and the mayor even led with, he wanted everyone on the board to know, Mayor Harmison, to know his opinion on it. And he goes, I've been on both ends of this and looked at it from both sides. He goes, but we need it in case something happens. He brought up a chemical spill or something on one of the staff members. They need a facility to go shower. I don't know how likely or common that is. Maybe one of you watching is, more educated in that topic, but I didn't think that was likely. And then he also said that by adding this grinding station, that this was going to allow them to anticipate future growth, which was shot down from more than one alderman that said, no, this is not going to allow for future growth. This is going to be isolated to this particular project. It wouldn't be able to be used outside of this. So it seemed to me that the mayor was not completely aware of what this project entailed, but all of the aldermen seemed to have hesitations at some point. All voted yes. Alderman Celeste Barella, Phyllis Morose, Justin Hoffman, and Kevin Rucker. Although Justin Hoffman and Kevin Rucker were both very vocally with potentially tabling it and looking if they could save money. They mentioned they could save money by bringing it in-house, because the grinding and pumping station was about $25,000, and then it was $60,000 hard cost for the materials, and that was confirmed by a staff member with Osage Beach in the meeting. And so they looked at $85,000, and then for about another additional $75,000, you could have this massive upgrade. The voice of reason in the meeting seemed to be Alderman Richard Ross, who said, no, this seems like a terrible use of money. I'm not saying we don't need a bathroom, but I don't think we need the Taj Mahal for these people. And he said, I don't think this is a great use of taxpayer dollars. And he said, when I found out that the city park didn't have running water, he goes, I brought it up in a board meeting and we had it fixed within months internally. The argument from the rest of the board was, we don't want to use our staff doing projects like this when there's so much else they could be doing. But this wasn't just a decision that was rushed to. It was 18 months in the making, and they felt like that this was very, very needed, to the tune of $157,000, and the project is going to get started. KRMS anticipates that the city can go out for bids and get the actual physical work started by the third week of this month, and that the project will be all done and in service for the city by the middle of October. Now, there were some stipulations when its assistant administrative assistant for the city of Osage Beach, Michael Wiltie, put this project out for bid. He said, legally, we have to put it out for 15 days. He said, we put it out for 21 days. He said, and we had requested over 20 different companies bid this. He goes, we gave them 6 more days than you're legally obligated, and we got 2 bids back. He goes, and over the last 2 years working on this is by far the cheapest at $157,000. So I did see some of the logic, but I still come back to the question was, do we in the city of Osage Beach, with the problems we've got and the growth that we're seeing and projecting, is a staff isolated bathroom that significant, especially at the cost of $157,000? I'm not the one to answer that question. I put it on Facebook. It seemed like the community did not like this. A lot of people alluded to, I built my house for less than $157,000. A lot of people said, boy, let me come bid the bathroom for a $157,000 budget, which there's always more to a project than the average Tom, Dick, or Harry like you or I would see on the outside. $157,000 seems easy. Then you start listing pumping and grinding stations. I mean, I don't even know what all that means.
Don't want to know.
And so, correct. And so I understand there's more there, but I didn't like this decision. I don't think the community liked this decision. And I did want to applaud Alderman Richard Ross, who seemed to be the real voice of reason as I went back and watched that meeting from Thursday, August 1st. He voted no, everyone else voted yes, and so it will move forward. And we'll be looking at this bathroom being usable hopefully for the staff of the city of Osage Beach by the middle of October.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, very interesting. And in that board meeting, I wanted to also note that Kevin Rucker, Alderman, did say, I would like to see this as a learning experience for us as a city, so we should never have gotten to this point. 18 months where they haven't had a bathroom, how we internally, with the resources and staff we have, couldn't have figured out a solution, and we had to keep tabling this. Now it's to a boiling point where a lot of us are stuck in the middle. He goes, this as a city should be a learning experience, and so let's hope that's exactly what that is for the city of Osage Beach.
Yeah.
All right, so in our next local story, you see in Osage Beach, we think it doesn't happen here, or it's not this close to home. Well, it is. A sex trafficking sting leads to the arrest of one in Osage Beach last week.
Yeah, kind of weird. A Fort Smith, Arkansas guy in Camden County Jail being busted for alleged sex trafficking, as you said, in Osage Beach. Probable cause statement filed in the Camden County Courthouse indicates that the investigation started on last Tuesday after Osage Beach police responded to a local hotel to check out a suspicious vehicle parked out of sight. They said contact with a hotel clerk indicated that this Johnny Jackson guy from Arkansas was in the company of a couple of unidentified people going in and out of a room, apparently not dressed in very much. Again, red flags all over. Officers checked out a known prostitution website offering services and set up a sting at the hotel. Jackson reportedly admitted that he had been doing a lot of things at different hotels in the area. I'm not quite sure how that fits in with the sex trafficking. It kind of seems like a prostitution thing, but Jackson charged with a felony count of promoting prostitution, being held on $150,000 bond.
Yeah, well, from my understanding, I mean, that is what prostitution is sex trafficking.
Okay.
Typically, what I have learned is that people who fall into the sex working industry typically are hooked on either a drug or a relationship, and they cannot get away, and their only means to continue is to follow through with the job and then get the money to the source. And so, especially if you're addicted to drugs and your pimp or your dealer is also the person you get your fix from, all that an addict is worried about is getting that next fix. And if this is your provider and they'll pay you to do these sex crimes, it's more of a victim than it would be a choice to actually be in prostitution. Now, I reached out to Osage Beach Lieutenant Michael O'Day, and he said that they had caught on to him at their first hotel before they had moved. Now, both victims I had asked, are we dealing with minors? Are we dealing with, has he bailed himself out? He was able to tell me that both victims were identified. One stayed to get help through the professional agencies. One did not stay and was gone after being identified. And then, of course, as of Monday, August 5th, Jackson was still in Camden County Jail with that $150,000 bond with one felony count of, as you said, of promoting prostitution. But it's scary because that's right here in the lake area, and our own local law enforcement agencies know of an online website that is used locally, and they can't stop that. They can't take that down. Like if it's known, it means they went in and created an alias and set this up so they could come take part in this. So they're using it as a tool and not able, it appears, to take that down. So be vigilant. I mean, keep your head on a swivel, and this stuff is everywhere. And if you don't think it's coming to Lake of the Ozarks, and if you don't think that our daughters and our sisters and, you know, our children are in jeopardy or in danger, you know, think again, because it could happen. This is a testament to that. One of the things Lieutenant O'Day said was a couple of the things we as locals can look for is, especially in a hotel instance, let's say you're staying at a hotel, see someone wandering around the lobby, see somebody that looks injured or fatigued in the lobby or dressed in not a lot of clothing. He said that it is highly recommended that you do not approach the individual, you reach out to local law enforcement agencies. He said, but another tall tale is somebody at a hotel with a lot of cash. He said they're starting to see more and more of this, and he said that any education, any heightened awareness is appreciated, and so we'll hopefully be working with Lieutenant O'Day to continue to educate and keep the community posted, because this is a very real issue, Chris, and it's not one that's going away overnight or one that's going to get easier to deal with.
Yeah, and if you want to learn more about that, we did an interview on the Community Spotlight show a couple of months ago with Jeff Green, who's in charge of Lake of the Ozarks against human trafficking. And he explained a lot of that. So you can go back on YouTube and watch that. You're going to learn more about that. It's dark, dirty, second biggest criminal organization in the world, sex trafficking, or human trafficking, basically. Only drugs is bigger than that, but you can go back and watch that on YouTube. It is fascinating.
Wild. All right, so in our next local story, we've heard a ton about it this latest election cycle, especially with our gubernatorial candidates, is Missouri farmland being sold to foreign entities. In particular, hearing is the Chinese are buying up a lot of American farmland, especially here in Missouri, very close to home. And some of the conversation has been buying close proximities to nuclear power plants and military bases. And so I was curious, is this a serious concern and problem, or is this being blown out of proportion with the local election cycle?
Right, and there's some good numbers on that. According to the 2023 Department of Agriculture data obtained by KOMU, Channel 8 out of Columbia, foreign entities own about 138,000 acres of farmland across the state of Missouri.
And that sounds like a lot.
It does sound like a lot. Actually, it's only about 0.5% of available or potential farmland in Missouri. The state's got 27 million acres suitable for agriculture, not necessarily being used for that now, but suitable for it. Chinese entities own the most farmland. That is true, about 43,000 acres in the state of Missouri, but most of that is with one company. I believe that's what, Smithfield Farms or something like that.
Yeah, Smithfield Foods, and you're familiar with farmland, sausage, bacon, all of those things. They sold in 2013 to Hong Kong-based WH Group, which equates for almost all of that 43,000 acres that you alluded to. In 2013, the Missouri General Assembly passed a bill limiting the total amount of foreign-owned farmland in the state of Missouri to 1%. Now, you said we're at about 0.5%, but what's ironic is prior to that, there was 0% foreign land allowed to be owned outside of the states. And so this kind of paved the way for farmland and Smithfield Foods and WH Group to keep their land and keep in business. And so that is a little concerning. And we've actually heard from some local farmers, an Oxbox farmer, Kenny Brinker. He owns a 1,600 acre farm, and he said that he truly believes this is being blown out of proportion for political reasons. But it does lead one to wonder, why would foreign entities own any farmland in the states, especially in the state of Missouri? I mean, now, the way I understand it, China is essentially America's enemy globally. And so to have them not only own farmland in the state of Missouri, but in the states in general, seemed a little ironic. And that's what you're seeing from Ashcroft and Bill Eigel, both running for governor. Of course, by the time you watch this, you know who won that race. But that was a huge issue. You couldn't turn on the TV and not see a political ad talking about farmland being bought by China in the state of Missouri.
And not just here, but all across the U.S., all 50 states, basically. So the Missouri General Assembly passed a bill in 2013 that limited the total amount of foreign-owned farmland to be no more than 1%. That cleared the way for Smithfield Foods to keep their land in Missouri when the Chinese bought them. Before that, no foreign ownership was allowed. So to me, what that looks like was in 2013, the Chinese want to buy this company, and so the state legislature goes, yeah, let's let them do that. Let's open the door for that to happen. And before that, there was no foreign ownership here in Missouri. Now, we've kind of put ourselves in a bad position, because if you force all foreign entities to go and sell that land, there's going to be a hard time for some people, right? Because it's going to probably bring prices down for farmland. That's the problem. When you open the door, you start making bad decisions. To reverse those, it's going to cause some pain, probably.
Yeah, and as we alluded to, that in 2013, it was none. There was no farmland in Missouri allowed to be owned by foreign entities. And so when the Missouri General Assembly passed that, like you said, paving the way for Smithfield Foods and WH Group out of Hong Kong, that still left them far, far away from the maximum quota of 1%. And since then, that 42,000 acres that was included then in 2013 is now up to 138,000. So we've sold off another 90,000 acres of Missouri farmland to foreign entities since that Missouri General Assembly bill was passed in 2013. And so we're about 0.5%, meaning we could have about 275,000 acres in the state of Missouri owned by foreign entities once we get to that 1% cap. And so that's concerning.
Yes, it is. And another concern there is, you remember that Chinese spy balloon that the Biden administration let go all over the country and spy on America, and then they finally blew it up when it got through America? Okay, well, if the Chinese and other foreign countries own land around America, even if it's not right next to a military base or a nuclear plant or something, like in Missouri, I think the law is it has to be 10 miles away. Well, if you're 10 miles away, you're right next door to spy on pretty much whatever you want to spy on. That seems a bit dangerous, too.
I was watching a video last night of the top 20 military moments caught on camera ever, and it was showing some of the nukes that different countries have. Russia's got one that's capable of traveling almost 1,700 miles in minutes and hitting its target identical. Yeah, 10 miles sounds like a safe distance.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't seem smart at all. That's why it's a big deal. That's why we've seen all of the campaigning on it and stuff like that, is that it is a potential big deal. One of the many things that our country is dealing with now.
And I mean, if we want to look at the issue as a whole, I mean, as a global enemy of the United States of America, what do most Americans have in their hand? Who created this and then shipped this over? And could be tracking and gaining all of our data easily without our knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's a lot of red flags when it comes to our relationship with China, especially today.
No doubt.
In our next segment, it's our LOZ app, LOZ Rumor Mill. And first up this week, lo and behold, the Osage Beach Outlet Mall appears to be under contract. Uncle Chris, we actually have an audio clip. This is from the Board of Aldermen meeting last Thursday. Take a listen.
The Outlet Mall, I believe, is under contract. No? Yes. Have we
were in
heard?
discussions. Things are in discussions. Nothing's final.
Nothing's final yet. Okay. Just thought I'd kind of bring that out, into the public a little bit if we could. I don't know exactly where it's at.
Nothing is final.
Okay.
I've heard otherwise.
I have too. That's why I was kind of confused. I was hoping somebody would give me an answer right there. Obviously, what I'm thinking is down the road, we need to start thinking about what their process is going to be. Is that going to include a TIF? So I just think it should be on our radar a little bit.
And so it looks like Alderman Hoffman, he wanted to get it out there, and Mayor Harmison quickly said, no, just discussions, and nothing final. And then you heard, that's not what I've heard different. So interesting dialogue going on between Mayor Michael Harmison and the Board of Aldermen in regards to the Outlet Mall. But hey, it looks like whether or not it's final yet, it looks like the Osage Beach Outlet Mall is or is about to be under contract.
Yeah, I'm excited about that because this is a huge engine to drive local business. I mean, at one point, it was the biggest business driver other than the lake itself, and it's just been sitting there deteriorating for the last few years. Boy, it'd be great to get something going in there.
All right, next up on our LOZ app, LOZ Rumor Mill. Well, it's about the NFL, so not a whole lot about the lake, but everybody loves their Kansas City Chiefs, and the NFL came out with their top 100 players of the 2024 upcoming season. Yep. What a joke.
All right, so let me ask you a question first. How many of the top 10 players in the NFL today do you suppose are in the top 10? You know Patrick Mahomes is going to be there, right?
Sure.
Who else would you think is in there? Would
Josh Allen?
No, just from the Chiefs.
Oh, okay. Well, Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
And then maybe Chris Jones, or that's it. Those are the only three real stars because you wouldn't put Pacheco.
Right.
You don't have any receivers.
Harrison Butker. No, you don't put a kicker in there.
Probably don't put a kicker up there. But if you did, Harrison Butker would be the one.
Yeah.
Chris Jones would be the other.
Okay, so you're exactly right. Those three are in the top 10. So Travis Kelce comes in at number 9 as the 9th best player in the NFL right now. Chris Jones at number 6. Here's the shocker. Patrick Mahomes is not number 1. He's number 4.
Not just is it a shocker, but they have a quarterback in front of him. Lamar Jackson at number 2's never won a Super Bowl. Choke artist of the century. He's won 2 MVPs, which is a joke. And now the NFL players vote him ahead of Patrick Mahomes, along with Christian, rarely stay healthy McCaffrey, and Tyreek, I have 19 baby mamas Hill. I just can't get over the NFL and the way they vote. Patrick Mahomes, not only the greatest player in the NFL today, maybe the greatest quarterback of all time, and it is a joke that the NFL players voted him number 4.
No doubt. I mean, and we were talking about it just a few minutes ago. I mean, of the all-time greatest players, period, Patrick Mahomes would be in the top 2 or 3, right? And they don't even have him in the top 3 players now. That's just amazingly stupid.
Lamar Jackson.
I mean, Lamar's great, but he hasn't won anything. And Tyreek Hill's great, but he hasn't won anything since he left Patrick Mahomes.
Tyreek Hill's very, very futile, we'll say that.
He's very busy, and Christian McCaffrey is a great running back, but he's not better than Patrick Mahomes.
Where is Josh Allen?
That's a great question, too. Wow.
I mean, he's got the curse of playing for the worst franchise in the history of sports, the Bills, and they can't give him a spot on the top 10.
My goodness gracious.
Myles Garrett smacks somebody in the head with a helmet, you'll get a spot. Tyreek Hill, how many kids can you produce? You get a spot. Lamar Jackson.
He's got like 16 kids out there, right? Okay, so here's your top 10. Max Crosby from the Raiders.
Like it, I could see it. Terrible tattoos. Go
at
ahead.
10. Travis Kelce, 9. He should probably be higher.
Especially after having to deal with Taylor all year.
TJ Watt, number 8. He's hurt all the time. Great player, but he's always hurt.
Curse.
Number 7, Trent Williams, offensive lineman for the 49ers.
Who cares about
okay.
linemen?
Chris Jones. I get Chris Jones. I mean, he's a difference maker and a Super Bowl winner. Myles Garrett comes in number 5. Defense with Cleveland.
He's a stud, but if you hit another human being on a football field in the head with a helmet, you cannot be on the top 10 list.
I would not put him ahead of Chris Jones, 3-time Super Bowl winner. Patrick Mahomes at number 4, stupid. Christian McCaffrey 3, Lamar Jackson 2, Tyreek Hill 1.
That was terrible.
Crazy.
That was terrible. So that's going to round up this week's LOZ app. LOZ Rumor Mill as we look ahead to what's on tap on Lake TV. Big week for the Lake TV Community Spotlight. Man, I'm telling you what. Dustin Johnson with Project Vet Jet. What a cool story.
Yeah, it really is. So he's a veteran himself, and he's trying to help fellow veterans. So what he does is they get out on the water with jet skis and PWCs and stuff just because it's good for the soul. It helps them to heal. And what Dustin has found that even fixing these PWCs that didn't work to get out on the water is also a big deal. And coming up next week, we're really getting big and heavy into shootout. We've got our friend Ricky Smith on. He's going to go over all the shootout events, when and where and all that stuff. That's next week on the Spotlight Show.
Yeah, shootout. It is coming like a freight train, going to be here before we know it. The mini shootout, just a couple weeks away, not even.
Wow. I mean, and those things are really cool. Those little remote-controlled boats out there at Ha Ha Tonka. If you haven't been out there to check those out, you got to do that. Or watch Lake TV and watch, we cover that every year, so it's great.
Also, your August monthly market update with Jessica Bruce.
You
the
were
Bruce
great
and
with
Kelly
Jess
team.
on that, yeah.
I got to fill in this week. I was her co-host, had a great time out there at Serdike Yamaha Port 20. And then, of course, the new LOZ Premier Properties will be coming out this Saturday, our new bi-weekly real estate show from right here at Slumberland.
That is so
at the lake.
good, yeah.
Yeah, you can see Chances Are being featured in this week's show
Wow.
with Troy and Donna Meyer. You also have Brady Ford and Jessica Bruce, that and a whole lot more. But that's all the time we've got. Until next week, my friends, thanks for watching.
Take Lake TV with you wherever you go. Watch Lake TV on demand on YouTube, Roku, and Fire TV.